Hey guys, welcome to Sippin' and Spillin' with Sid from 3 Mississippi. It is my Sunday afternoon vlog, I suppose you could say. Mike and Frankie are of course in choir practice right now, and so this is the time where I wait for them and fill you in on the weekend basically. Yesterday, Saturday, did not go as planned. Our plan was to, since Frankie was still gone, I didn't have to, we thought she wasn't getting back from her FFA thing in Raymond until like 2 o'clock, right? So we had decided we were going to work on getting some of the rest of the trees planted, and we were going to finish the last little bit of grading and evening out that needed to take place on the driveway. And that didn't happen. Friday night, Mike said he was going to go out and bush hog, and a neighbor ended up coming over and they got the bush hog on Kenny, but he ended up not bush hogging that night. And so Saturday morning when I got up actually early because my plan was to have all my regular chores done and, you know, have everything squared away and ready to go out there and work by 9 o'clock. Well, I was still working on the animal stuff. I got up at 5, but I was still working on it because I had to clean out both of the brooders for both the goslings and the turkeys. And that turned into a 2 hour plus long endeavor. It just, every aspect of it, something went wrong. And it just took forever. Like, it was like never ending. It was bad. And then I was like, well, see, here was the problem. I have these 2 pop-up brooders, you guys may remember, that I ordered, and it's the first year that I've used them for birds. I actually do really like them. However, I have both of them in use right now because I have the goslings and the turkeys separate. Well, the problem being that what I had been doing with the Cornish was moving them to the clean one while I dealt with the dirty one and let it dry in the sun. Well, I didn't have a spare one that I could just move them to, so I had to move everybody into 2 separate crates and clean them out. And then I was like, how am I going to get these dry enough to like be able to use them right now? Because I need to put them back in. I can't leave them in these crates. They need to, like, the littler ones need to be back in under heat, and that's hard to get in the crate, and like it was just, you know, not ideal. So I took the leaf blower. I was like, if it works in the bathrooms, if they take away the paper towels and you use the hand dryer, it works, right? So I thought, well, I'll just essentially use the leaf blower to dry it, and it did work. It did work. So I'm out there with the leaf blower drying the brooders out. And I'd also, yet again, tweaked my lower back and my hip. I know, I need to go back to the doctor or something. But I tweaked it again and it's cranky and I'm working on it. Just no time to deal with it. So I just kind of hobble along in between. So anyway, I get that all done. And by the time I finish everything, it's like almost 11 o'clock. By the time I did all my chores, I wasn't moving super fast because my hip kept going out, and so it just, anyway, everything took me forever, long story short. So I didn't finish everything, even though I got up and at 5 and started working on stuff. I didn't finish until like almost 11 o'clock. So then I thought, well, I did some stretches to try to help with my situation, and I thought, well, I'm gonna take a shower so I can stick on a lighted arm patch and like just get moving for the day. So I hop in the shower, I'm out of the shower, I'm about to dry my hair, and Frankie texts me, we're almost at the school, we're 15 or 20 minutes away. And I was like, what? They ended up getting in like at like noon, and she had told me they weren't going to be there till like 1 maybe, but most likely 2 o'clock. And our plan was, our town was having a flywheel festival, which is basically like arts, crafts, antiques, funnel cakes, you know the drill. And so I thought, well, okay, you know, we were going to finish all our work up early in the day, and by the time we had to go pick her up, we would just go as a family to the flywheel festival. That way it would just be one trip into town, whatever. Nope. Mike had gotten up while I was doing all the bird stuff and decided he was going to do the bush hogging then. So he bush hogged like everything. He bush hogged in the horse pasture, which did desperately need it. Out in the back 40, he bush hogged. He left kind of patches for wildlife for now, since we're not really having to graze anything out there at the moment. So he did leave some patches for like the turkey and the quail that are out there, and for like the deer and whatever. But he actually got quite a bit done, and he did a little more when we got back. He finished another section that he wanted to bush hog. So he got a lot done in that sense, but we didn't do the things we thought we were going to do. He thought he was going to get some of his planting done. I suspect this afternoon he will be trying to do that, but we're having a spring fling at church that we are all signed up to go help with. So we have to be back at church at like 4:30. So I don't know how much time he's going to have to get everything in the ground. But he'll have a little bit more time this evening too. So we'll see how that goes. I know he's anxious to get the rest of everything in the ground. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we had an interesting day yesterday. It was fun. There'll be a little bit of that probably in Tuesday's video. Mike and I ended up dancing at the festival, and Frankie actually filmed some of it. So I might slip a little bit of that into Tuesday's video this week. So be on the lookout for that. We had some wonderful things happen. I was so excited on Saturday. Was it Saturday? Or was it Friday? Now I can't remember because my days are running together. But it was Friday. That's right. So Friday morning, you know, my Muscovy has been sitting on her nest with a bunch of eggs under her, ready to hatch those babies. And when I came home Friday afternoon, she had hatched out all the babies, and they were all looking good. They all did really well. And I thought, okay, she probably won't venture them out of the coop until Sunday. Because usually a mama will wait like 2, maybe 3 days, but usually around the 2-day mark in the afternoon, they'll take the babies out for the first time. Nope. She marched them out there Saturday, about midday. She took them out into the run and just left them hanging. Like, just went deuces, I did my part, and bailed. And so they're just running around the pasture, like looking for anybody to be their mama. Half of them were up underneath a rooster. Half of them were at at one of the drakes' feet. You know, another few were just kind of just wandering around, looking lost and chirping. And so it was just kind of weird, you know? And I didn't want them to just kind of get picked off, because oftentimes that's what happens. It's not often that a mama will abandon them like that after being such a good sitter and hatcher. I've never had that happen. Usually if they're kind of like about sitting and somebody else is sort of taking over the nest, and they kind of sit sometimes and they're maybe co-nesting, I've seen them do that, where then they kind of let the other mom take over. But she didn't have anybody like that. And she was very protective over the ducklings when I first went in there. So I was really surprised to see that she just kind of, once she got back out in the yard, she was like, peace out. I did my part. Back to the club. Like, she just was not keeping an eye on them, nothing. She didn't seem to care when I went up and picked them up. Like, she didn't come after me. I'm like, this is weird. So I stood there and I watched them for a while to see kind of like, you know, what would happen, because if any of my roosters or the drakes were going to attack the babies, you know, whatever. And I really wanted to like just let them live out in the wild, basically. Like, I wanted the mom to raise them, but she clearly had no interest in that. So I scooped them all up, and she seemed unfazed by that. And I even left them in the carrier, like out in the yard, to see if she would come over and like start, you know, kind of chirping at them or nope. She kind of watched from afar. Like, the only way I can describe it is like, if you imagine like the mom that like drops her newborn baby off at like the fire department and just sort of waits outside to see if the firemen actually see the baby and like take it inside. That was her. She was like, you got them? Cool. off on her merry way. So I grabbed her, Frankie and I grabbed her, and I banded her leg because she was a good sitter and she did hatch out those babies, and all those eggs were like fertile. There was like 3 that were fertilized that, you know, at some point in development didn't make it. So I did yank those eggs, but everybody else did fine and hatched out. So ended up with 12 ducklings, which this will be part of Tuesday's video as well. So you are getting the spill today, kids. But they really, I mean, they were just so cute. I was like, I can't just let them be at the mercy of the orcs out here with her not protecting them. Now, granted, the drakes were being really sweet to them. The roosters were being really sweet to them. The other hens were really confused because they would walk up to another duck, one of the hens, and just kind of sit between their legs or at their feet, and the hens looked real confused. Like they were sort of like, who baby this? Who baby this? Come get it. Come get your baby. So anyway, I scooped them all up. We tagged the mom. So that, and the reason I did that was because, number one, I know that she already successfully hatched out a clutch this season, and I don't want to dispatch her. It'll help me keep an eye on like her situation. Like, she was a good sitter. I know she's a crap mom. Once they're hatched, after that first day, once they're dry, she's like, I'm out. But that's okay. You know, if she's a good sitter and hatcher, I can take it from there if I need to. So then you'll love this. I get the ducklings, right? And I'm like, okay, so my options are put the ducklings in with the turkeys, which they're a little big now. And the ducklings are, you know, 24 hours old at this point. You know, they're pretty little and young. Or do I put them in with my geese? Now, my geese are a lot bigger, but there's only 3 of them. And these geese, even though they're juvenile, they're not even feathered out yet. They are very sweet. And I thought, I'm going to put them in with the geese, and I'm going to sit here and watch them for a while and see how it goes. You guys, oh my word, absolutely adorable. I got some really great footage. These ducklings literally crawled on the goslings' backs and went to sleep. The goslings like follow them, or like, you know, let them follow underneath them and crowd all around them. They have imprinted on these goslings. It is absolutely adorable. They are, it's, you know, it's really cute. And the ducklings are like watching them eat and drink, and then they're eating and drinking. It's really cute. And they still have their little heat plate in there, and I put it lower for them because the goslings don't really need the heat plate anymore. They're big enough now, and they're still got a lot of down, but they're at that awkward kind of stage where they're starting to get feathers, and, you know, and they generate, when they're that size, they kind of generate a lot of heat. So they haven't been going under the heat plate anyway. In fact, the day before I had taken their heat plate out because they didn't need it anymore. But I put it back in because of the ducklings. And I put it low enough that they can get under, you know, and be warm enough. But they're so cute, and they're doing really well. All 12 of them made it through the night with the goslings, and everybody's doing well. Well, I go back in to check the duck, the mama, the hen, and she's kind of huffing and puffing and walking around in the coop like she's looking for the babies. So I'm like, did she not realize that all the babies followed her out? And then she just sort of went like, you know, she just kind of left them. I don't know. But she was walking around, kept looking in her nesting box, like, where's the babies? Where's the baby? Kind of looking panicked. And I'm like, really? So I thought, I'm going to try something. So normally when the duck hatches babies, and I've hatched Muscovies for many clutches for a while now, out of the hens I used to have. And what would happen, and some chickens do this too, is as the birds hatch, as the babies hatch, they eat the shells. And I think she did that on a few of them, but she didn't eat all of them, and she kind of left them in there. So I cleaned out the rest of the old shells, and because usually they live off of those for a couple of days, because the first couple of days they'll stay with the ducklings and not leave, so that the ducklings can stay for the first, like, you know, 2-3 days in there. And I had put a little bit of food and water in there too, that she or the ducklings could access for that time frame, but she still took them out into the yard. But anyway, I thought, well, I'm gonna try something. I had a duck that had just laid a clutch, but wasn't sitting on it, and didn't really show any signs of sitting on it. So I gathered up all the duck eggs that were in this weird spot that she had decided to lay in the coop, put them all in this duck's nesting box that she had just spent 35 days sitting on. Sure enough, she went right back to sitting. Now, I don't generally like to do that to a bird because it takes a lot out of them sitting. They really, you know, they ration their eating and their drinking and their time off the nest, and especially when it's still colder out. Right now it's pretty warm, so we're not having that problem as much. She can be gone for a little bit longer before the eggs get cold, and they really are good at regulating that. It's really kind of fascinating. So she went right back to sitting on these eggs, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go ahead and let you do it. My geese are doing it too, because I've tried to break them for about 2 weeks in between. I tried to break up their nest and everything, and that just didn't happen. They ended up just sitting on nothing. So I thought, well, I'll stick some duck eggs under you. And I think they've crushed a few of the eggs. Some of the eggs weren't viable. I suspect that the geese get too hot because a lot of the eggs come out cooked. That is what I have come to conclusion, is that the geese are too warm for the duck and the chicken eggs, and they cook the eggs sitting on them. That's what I think, because I've cracked them and it's like scrambled eggs inside sometimes. Like you could tell it started to develop and then it went scrambled. It's weird, but that's what I think. So they are both sitting again, and then I still have my one Jersey Giant who is sitting on a combination of a few duck eggs and many chicken eggs that are going to be barnyard mixes, because my roosters are, I think, what are my roosters right now? I got a copper Moran rooster, and what are my other ones that are rooster? The one that I don't know what it is, because it was just a random chick that I got when I got my excuse me, my Cornish last year, and I have no idea what kind of bird it is. But it's a chicken, but I don't know what breed. And what's the other one? I'm blanking on them right now. I had copper Moran, and the other one just went out of my head. Like, I can picture the bird, and the name of it just flew out my head, no pun intended. But it'll come to me eventually. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. Not a salmon. Copper salmon. What's the other one? I'm blanking. Completely blanking right now. Love that for me. That's a sign of senility right there. Anywho, so it would be barnyard mixes, and then, you know, my girls are everything from Orpingtons to cream leg bar to I got some Americanas eggs under there and whatever. So anyway, it'll be an interesting mixes. Might get some interesting colored egg layers out of some of those that are the lavender and the lavender Americana, and the if the copper got to her, I don't know, there could be some interesting things happening there. We'll see. But those should be hatching sometime this week, because she started sitting, you know, about a week after, and then I put the chicken eggs under her, you know, about 12 days after the duck eggs. So the timing should be about right for everybody to hatch at the same time. So we'll see how that goes. But that was my update this weekend. Lots of bird stuff. Some of that will be included on Tuesday's video. So I did spill the beans a little bit today for you. But you haven't lived until you've seen ducklings crawling on goslings' backs. It's absolutely precious. So I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. I hope you had a nice weekend. Hopefully, I know that some places did not have some nice weather. We were blessed enough to have really nice weather this weekend. I know that some areas had devastating tornadoes and storms, and so we'll keep them in our prayers. But fortunately, we had very, very nice weather. A zoom. Anyway, I hope you're having a nice start to your week, and lots of things, you know, trying to get done in the next couple weeks before we leave to go to the Arkansas meetup, so at Blue Mountain Lake. So lots of things we got to try to cram in before we leave. Exciting stuff, and we will keep you apprised of all of it. As always, guys, stay blessed and safety's off.